Live. Hello, everyone. Greetings. Let me check settings really fast. Looks good. Audio looks good. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, guys. Welcome. It's been a minute. It has been a minute. I missed you all. See some familiar faces and some new ones. We're going to go ahead and jump in here in 2 shakes. Let me just make sure. Okay, audio looks good. Video looks good. If you do encounter any buffering or weirdness, let me see. Any buffering or weirdness, usually if you refresh the page, it should help. Hello, guys. Hello, hello. Welcome. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and jump on in because I know we're running a few minutes behind, although we are getting started a little earlier today. I'm sorry. I keep seeing this. One moment, guys. Okay. Everybody can hear me okay, see me okay, all that good stuff, I assume. So, not sure if YouTube's doing some updates or whatnot. You know, we're going to run with it. We're just going to run with it and jump on in because, like I said, I know we're running a few minutes behind. We've already got a number of questions, some of them just from glancing really quick. We've got a lot of really good questions today, so I am super thrilled to dive in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend so far. And thank you for being here with me for another round of live Q&As where we hang out, we talk about the law, talk about conscious manifestation. I answer your questions so that, as always, my aim is you have the best understanding possible so that you can take these teachings, apply them in your life to see the results that you want. I want to thank everybody for sending me well wishes first and foremost. I appreciate so much of you. As some of you might know, I wasn't able to come on last week, feeling a bit under the weather. I am pretty close to 100%. I am a little bit still stuffy. You might notice that. I sound a little nasally today. I apologize. But definitely on the mend and feeling much, much better. So thank you guys so much who reached out with well wishes and speedy recoveries. I am also making sure to get caught up on emails as quickly as possible since I was down and out for a couple of days. I hope everybody is staying well and safe out there, resting up and avoiding whatever bug is going around. But without further ado, I believe not really trying to think if there was anything I had as far as announcements go. Just the normal if you are new here or if you are interested in learning more of, seeing more of my resources, information about my coaching programs, information about working together, you can check in the description box. I've got all that information down below, my one-on-one waitlist, all of that. But I believe that was everything. So without further ado, let's jump on in. Kelly, Yara, Francesca, lovely ladies. I am so happy to see you here. This is going to be good. What's up? Mystical. The question on, this is a very common question. Mystical says, hey, Misty, can we revise it so someone who passed left us a large sum of money? Also, can we revise the death of people and pets? I saw someone say they revised deaths. This is a good question. And there's so much to delve into when it comes to the topic of death. The short answer, what I will say, because this is a bit of a touchy topic, obviously, when we're talking about the passing of someone, a loved one. Of course, this is going to be not easy to cover, something that we don't cover lightly. But in my experience, in my, I guess, opinion, for lack of better matters, we can manifest anything. We can truly manifest anything. If we can imagine it, we can experience. However, that being said, to the degree that we can believe that, to the degree that that can feel possible for us or doable, there's going to be a considerate amount of resistance to the idea. We are very thoroughly conditioned to think that, in this, at least as far as this 3D world is concerned, when somebody dies, when somebody passes, that's it. There's no coming back from that. That being said, there are also several accounts of people who have revised situations and circumstances where people died and then didn't. I know it's very bizarre. It sounds very, very bizarre. But I actually have, in my next success story video, I am going to be uh, bringing up an account, one of those accounts, actually, from somebody that I talked to and am currently working with. So, can we revise that someone who passed left us a large sum of money? Yes, we can. We can absolutely imagine anything that we would like. We can revise any circumstance to have it be as we would have wanted it to go. That is the beauty of revision. When it comes to the revision of death of people, as I mentioned, it really, a lot of it can come down to, the degree of conviction that we have. That's going to feel very, very difficult for people to believe. Um, but to be the last really important note, death is not a real thing. People don't die. It might appear that way in this 3D world, but that person, that lost loved one is very much alive in infinite states of consciousness and continuing their journey. So that was something that, Neville definitely taught. Death is an illusion. From my experience, I certainly do believe that as well. So yeah. Victoria, hello. Good to see you again. Hi, Missy. How to revise at the end of the day when I had multiple conflicts with people and also physical symptoms appearing for it not to be exhausting? This is a really good question. I know. How do we revise the day if multiple things happened? And maybe even on top of that, we're not feeling great. Physical symptoms are showing up. The beauty of revision is there are so many different ways that we can apply it. There are so many different ways that we can revise a circumstance or situation. I do stress often the importance of revision. How we don't want to take with us into sleep any aspects of the day that were not ideal and not wanted. I've made plenty of videos about revision. I am planning on coming out with more because I know that this is a topic that some people have challenge with. But one thing that you can do if you're feeling overwhelmed, the idea of revising all of these events is just too much. You could go to sleep at the end of the day, just first getting yourself into that relaxed, drowsy state and saying to yourself, today was a perfect day. Today was a perfect day. And, when you are in a relaxed enough state, you actually will be able to reach that place where you can start to feel that. At first, you may notice some resistance to the idea. Just allow yourself to get more deeply relaxed. Allow yourself to really go within that state akin to sleep and just imagine that it was the perfect day. I mean, that is revision in and of itself. It's more general, it's more broad stroke, but it is still revision. So I would play with that concept if you are feeling overwhelmed or on days where a lot of things are going on, a lot of things are happening. But the path of least resistance is ideally what we're looking for. Excuse me. Happy Sunday, guys. Hmm. Where was my no? Francesca. Hi, Missy. When in sats, even if we feel our scene as real as we can, even for just a few seconds before falling asleep, is it impressed? Yes. Yeah. I mean, it, it only takes a moment. It only takes that split moment when you have the reaction in sats, when you feel it to the point of relief, when you feel it to the point of that satisfaction, just as you would respond and react to that circumstance in the 3D, whatever's taking place in your mind, if you're reacting to it the same way that you would react to something desirable in the 3D. And even if it's just a split second, you feel that for a split second, that thrill, that chill up your spine, the butterflies in your stomach, whatever the case might be, that will absolutely plant a seed. That will absolutely leave an impression. Yeah. Yeah. We don't need to be, in our scene in sats for like hours or anything like that. Rest assured. Oh, hi, Missy. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday. Thank you, Barbara. I am. I am. You as well. Hello, Missy. If we create, oh wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed somebody up. Don't want to skip the spot. Sorry. Hello, Missy. How do you personally deal with unwanted thoughts, and how do you reduce them to the point where they become insignificant and powerless? Much love from Paris. Have a lovely Sunday. Thank you, Moon. I love your username. Much love from Paris. I cannot wait to go back to Paris. Really good question though. How do I personally deal with unwanted thoughts? I don't try to fight them. I don't try to push back against them. I don't flip them. I observe them. If negative thoughts do pop in, and to be clear, I'm still having a human experience. So of course I have days that may be stressful, and maybe I do have some intrusive thoughts or upsetting thoughts, and I will just observe them and just let them be. Basically, I don't give meaning or power to it. I don't react in a way of like, oh my god, I'm having this bad thought, I need to get rid of it, or it'll manifest. I don't do anything like that. I don't give significance and meaning to those thoughts. That is just byproduct of whatever state I might be occupying in this very moment. So I'll use it as feedback. I'll use it as feedback saying, hmm, especially if I notice any reaction to those thoughts, if I'm noticing anything, because reactions will tell us everything. Our reactions tell us everything. But most of the time, I'm not even reactive and responsive to negative thoughts anymore. Once in a while, but most important thing is to just let it be, if need be, and not fight it. When I take that approach, the negative thoughts subside very quickly, very quickly, because I'm not giving my all of my energy into trying to combat those negative thoughts. So um, I have come out with a video talking more about how to deal with negative intrusive thoughts. If you just type in the search bar, it should pop right up. But I will be coming out with another video here shortly that will go more into this, because we don't need to fear our thoughts. We really don't. Hello. If we create our own reality, that means technically, in someone else's reality, they won't even know we manifested them, right? Like 1,000 people being able to have the same SP. Um, Basically, yes. It if I'm understanding your question correctly. So, in our reality, in our experience, um, other people are going to be moved to take actions to get you from where you are physically now to ultimately where you wanna be. And it's gonna for the other person, it's gonna, feel to them like they came up with the idea originally and organically. Neville talks about this often when it comes to other people and the bridge of incidents that unfolds, how that might look like. So somebody else, um, might feel to them like, it was their original idea. Again, if I'm understanding your question correctly, but there are infinite versions of every person. As challenging as it might be to wrap our head around that, yes, yes. Short answer is yes. Yeah. 1,000 people being able to have the same SP? Well, yeah. I went to Barbados in imagination. That's it. That's it, Francesca. Yes. Oh, Sarah. Oh, you're not late. You're just on time. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Missy, what's the best daily routine when manifesting SP? Is it affirmations in the morning and sats at night? Mental diet through the day? That is a good question. And I cannot give a definitive answer for that, um, because everyone is going to be different. What Ideally, we want to find the path of least resistance for ourselves, right? Um, and so, when somebody asks, like, what is the best technique or routine, that may be affirmations, it may not be. We do want to play around with different ways of imagining and seeing what comes most naturally to us, what feels most natural to us. That's really the whole the whole idea here, is feeling it as naturally as possible. So without force, without willpower and effort. Um, so we do want to be mindful of our mental diet throughout the day. We want to be observant throughout the day because that's going to tell us definitively what state we're dominantly occupying. If we are living in the end, in fact, or not. Um, for myself, I am a huge advocate of the state akin to sleep, or at the very least, first getting into a nice and relaxed state, and then imagining, whether that be visualization, whether that be affirmations. But we want to have it resonate. We want to feel it. We want to feel it naturally. So we sometimes need to play around a little bit and see what that looks like for us. Hi, Missy. I hope you are well. How can we fully let go? And how do we know we're doing it right? Some things come when I let go, but when I apply the same technique to other big desires, nothing happens. Yeah, yeah, I know, and I know that, of course, is gonna feel really frustrating. Um, and it may be, for the so-called smaller things, may feel, obviously much easier or may come more naturally to us than these so-called bigger things. And simply put, it's because of our level of attachment, basically. Um, we do want to get to a place where we can let go, so to speak, not of the desire itself, but of the fears and the old stories and the feeling like we constantly need to do something to aid it along. We do want to naturally reach a state of detachment, and that will happen naturally the more that we continue to go to the end. The more that we get acquainted with that desired state and what it feels like, you will naturally, at a certain point, reach that state of detachment from that old story, from the old state of consciousness, and all the fears and doubts and insecurities that came with it. Uh, Dropping it or letting go is not something that we can, once again, do by force. Like, we can try to pretend, we can try to lie to ourselves, but that's not it's not gonna be effective. Um, and that's a natural process that happens. Um, and how do we know we're doing it right? We'll know based on our reactions. We'll know based on how we are feeling in the day to day, specifically or especially when it comes to the thing that we want, the desire that we have. So if I am going about my day, and when the thing that I desire comes up in my mind, what is the natural first response? What is the um, what comes up for me unconsciously, and is it lining up with what I ultimately want? That's that's how we know. We will know based on our inner talking, our inner dialogues, how we are reacting, things of that nature. That is going to be our gauge. If the story is not changing, and if we are noticing old thinking patterns, same kind of reaction patterns as before, as the old story, then we want to be mindful of that and perhaps even play around with different ways of imagining so that we can better get to that state of the wish fulfilled, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Eve has a question. I'm going to try to answer it as best I can if I understand correctly. Hi, Missy, and thank you so much for this space. Been seeing tons of affirmations are the best way to manifest. Okay to do this while also embodying the state of wish fulfilled. Also, while embodying the state of the wish. I mean, uh, yeah. If we are, I mean, I will say if we are already embodying that state of the wish fulfilled, if we're already naturally um, what Neville would refer to as the Sabbath, when it feels done, it feels like there's no work left to do. We're naturally thinking from that end. You're probably not even going to feel inclined to affirm. It's going to feel redundant. I mean, if you really, really want to, and it feels okay to do so, you could. Um, but when you are embodying that state, it's not going to feel like there's anything left you have to do. And once again, there's going to be varying degrees of opinions on what is the best technique to manifest. Um, for myself personally, again, this is for me personally. I did not find affirmations to be the very best method to go about this, um, not by a mile. That said, if it is working for you, if it is helping you to reach that state of satisfaction, by all means, by all means. But it is going to be different for everybody. It is. Oh, hi, Missy. I managed to do some magic. He showed up at my door, but since months have passed, he seems even more disconnected and full of guilt, shame, and low self worth. How do I change it? Oh, oh, good question. Um, if we want to change the 3D circumstances and how this person's showing up, we have to change. how we are perceiving them. So basically, we want to, drop any kind of narrative of, you know they have a bunch of guilt, they're they're disconnected, they're showing up more distant. If that is what we are conscious of, if that is what we are aware of experiencing with this person, if I am putting that sort of intention on that person, if that's how I see them, then that is how they're going to continue to show up. So we want to make sure that we are, when we think about this person, when we go within to imagine this person, that we are imagining and feeling internally the very best version of them. So the version of him that is showing up warm and supportive and, uh, you know, respectful in all the ways that you would ideally want him to show up. That's how you are seeing him in here going forward. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone is us pushed out, right? Turn on captions. I do have captions on. I mean, at least I did. I didn't change the setting. I'll double check to see if something may have gotten, but I turned on captions a while ago, and I have not changed that setting. So if they're not showing up, I will double check and make sure that that's hasn't been messed with. Hi, Missy. Do you have any advice for nearsighted people to manifest perfect vision? My visualization is still blurry, so I can't simulate the clear vision without nearsightedness in my imagination. And my eyes hurt very often because of dry eye syndrome. The uncomfortable position feeling keeps reminding me of my poor vision, and I'll get anxious about it. Thank you. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So if the desire is manifesting perfect vision, um, and naturally you may not be able to see an image clearly in your mind, that's okay. We don't have to approach it from that angle. I would personally imagine having a conversation with somebody, like a friend, a loved one, family member, and telling that person about how my eyesight has considerably improved, that my eyesight is the clearest it's ever been. Um, when I went to the doctor, I had perfect 20/20 vision. Something that implies that my vision has improved, right? And I would hear this person I'm talking to say, "Congrats, that's awesome. That's amazing to hear. That's miraculous." This is just an example, but the scene just has to imply what we want. And in this case, if that is better vision, perfect vision, then one thing that would be taking place would be a conversation that you would have with a friend and loved one, and telling them the good news. So that's just personally also why I love imaginal conversations, because it is something that we can use in almost any kind of scenario, and something that we would be naturally doing in the 3D. So yeah. Oh, 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 I'm sorry, you guys. That is good to know. Excuse me. I will make sure that those, checking something really quick. Yeah, I'll make sure that the captions get turned back on. Like I said, I did not touch any of those settings, but maybe a YouTube update turned them off or something. I don't know. But I'll make sure that those get turned back on. I'm sorry, guys. Let me Hey, Missy, can we manifest our SP to have never had a certain experience before? In this case, intimacy with someone else before. Because it's a long one, my SP story, but I got signs to back it up. We can absolutely imagine anything. So if you wanted to revise something that happened in the so-called past and imagine a different scenario, a different outcome, 100%. 100%. Do you think Neville Goddard's teachings go against Christianity? Um, in the mainstream, like, what the vast majority of people have been taught, that the Bible is historic fact, and these accounts are accounts that really happened to these men who lived thousands of years ago. It's gonna be, uh, definitely different, because Neville did not teach from the Bible, in the literal sense. Everything in the Bible was figurative. It was allegory and metaphor, uh, basically explaining how we create the psychological blueprint of man. And so, I guess in a sense, I mean, I wouldn't say it's definitely different. It's definitely different. But Neville very much considered himself a Christian. I mean, his whole life. He never wavered, and he certainly used, uh, you know, scripture and, passages from the Bible to sort of back up what he was teaching, about consciousness and how we create our reality, so to speak. The people in the Bible, the characters of the Bible represent states of consciousness. So he does a good job of breaking all of that down in his lectures and his books. So yeah. Yeah, I'm late. I was just watching your latest Neville reading. Oh, you're not late. You're not late. You are just on time. You are just on time, Michelle. Good to have you here. You guys are really sweet. Thank you for the well wishes in here again. Tammy, hello. Hi, Missy. My assumption of SP is he is very honest. How did I manifest him seeing someone else and lying to me all this time? How can I get over this resentment? Oh, I am so sorry. Um, well, so how did manifest something that is seemingly in contradiction? The way that we will know how something manifested, the only way that we'll know how something manifested is if we really start to be observant of what we are entertaining in the day to day. The thoughts that are coming up for us, what we are ruminating on, the reactions that we're having. Um, because we're usually doing this on autopilot, and the majority of the time we're not even aware of what we are doing and entertaining, which is why we don't often see when impressions are left, when subconscious impressions are being left. So when they outpicture, it takes us by surprise because we've been on autopilot essentially. We don't often make the connection or see the relationship between what's impressed and what is outpictured, yeah, just due to that autopilot lack of awareness, basically. Which is once again why I stress the importance of being very mindful of what we are actually doing, and also not just mindful but honest with ourselves. Um, you know, being very, very honest and real with what we are actually thinking, what we are actually dwelling on, what we are actually doing in the day to day. In this case, and these are just, I cannot say definitively because obviously I'm not in your mind, just tell. But if you have a belief that men can't be trusted, if you have a belief that men just wind up lying or cheating, or if something of that nature is perhaps been an experience that you've had, or just something that you've picked up through society, maybe friends have had that experience, and along the way, it sort of formed a belief in your mind. Um, that's one way that things might have outpictured the way that they did. Neville stresses that it's the dominant belief that's going to be outpictured. We may have beliefs that are in contrast, seemingly, um, like maybe a specific belief about this person, and then a more general belief about people in general. But the strongest one is going to win. Yeah. So, I mean, that being said, you do not have to continue to hold this idea or this assumption about this person, or you do not have to continue to hold the same beliefs in your self concept that are not ideal. Um, how do we get over this resentment? Revision. Revision. Yeah. Definitely watch my videos on revision if you have not seen it yet or have not watched those yet. Yeah. Hello. The gang is back. Indeed. Indeed it is. Where was my spot? Sorry, guys. Where was my spot? Hi, Missy. No question today, but a funny story about how I keep rereading Neville's Barbados story and now keep seeing ads to go to Barbados. Hmm. Not a coincidence. Not a coincidence. I love that. Hi, Missy. Greetings from the UK. What are your thoughts on what I call aggressively imperfect manifestations? Huh, I've not heard of that. This is where the desire does manifest, but every aspect of it is as opposite of what I wanted as possible. Hmm. Instead of giving you the positive sensations or experiences you wanted, it just triggers you repeatedly to the point that you just blow up. Hmm. I've been told that it comes down to my self concept, but I believe it's always worth getting a second opinion. What is your opinion? Good question. So, aggressively imperfect manifestation. The desire does manifest, but every aspect, instead of giving you the positive sensations. Okay, so in this example, because this is the first time I'm hearing of this term, uh, aggressively imperfect. So when you manifest the thing that you wanted, but it has the opposite effect. So instead of feeling good and satisfied and accomplished, it just feels bad. If I'm understanding that correctly. Um, if we are noticing that, if we're noticing a opposite reaction to the thing that we wanted, um, I mean, I would definitely maybe do some um, internal observation and just see, why I am reacting the way that I'm reacting. Like, if there is a reason that I could look to, am I feeling fearful? Am I feeling like I no longer want this thing? Is it just in the nature as it's showing up? Uh, because I mean, our reactions do tell us a lot. Our reactions do tell us a lot. Um, so I take it. when you manifest a desire, but it's not showing up exactly as you want it to, yeah. Um, Everything does come down to our self-concept. Everything that is experienced out here, everything that is out pictured is just the out picturing of our self-concept, and more specifically, our beliefs, our assumptions, what we are identifying with, what we are just believing to be true, what we are accepting as true. Nothing more, nothing less. So I would use those moments if they show up, when they show up, I would use it as feedback. What is this telling me about, how I am reacting? How is my reaction telling me what I need to know? What is it telling me? Why is it upsetting me in the way that it is? And I would do some reflection, and then I would revise. I would absolutely revise that it showed up in the way that you perfectly wanted, and that you had the reaction that you desired to have. Yeah. Good morning, Jackie. Hello. I just look at the time, and did you start the stream? I did start the stream a little earlier than usual. Yeah. Yeah. I've got a lot of editing and emails to get caught up on today, so, usually Sundays are sort of my day off, but, today, definitely a lot to get caught up on because I was sick earlier in the week, so yeah, but I didn't wanna miss another week of hanging out with you fine folk. Do you manifest for yourself what you want for/from other people? Do you manifest for yourself what you want from other people? So, by default, we manifest what we believe and assume to be true, by default. That is w I the the impressions that we get, so the subconscious impressions stemming from our beliefs, our assumptions, is what becomes out pictured, which is why the whole aspect of this teachings and this practice is to if really get ourselves feeling into and being the person that we want to be, the person that already has what we desire. Because again, that is what manifests by default. We manifest who we are. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Yara, you are correct. The path of least resistance is the best for revision or any other technique. Yes, we do not want to force. It should not feel strained and efforting. Nope. All right. Going up. Oh, thank you, JT. I am feeling better. I may not fully sound like it, but I am feeling better. Is it okay to dwell in the past memories because they feel good? Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. If the memory is invoking a good feeling within us and we are allowing ourselves to enjoy it, yeah. How can we keep living in our wish fulfilled when we have to engage with the opposite in 3D? This is arguably the most challenging when the 3D looks the opposite of what we want. Admittedly, this is going to, at first, especially at first, this is going to feel challenging because we are very, very, very conditioned to responding and reacting to 3D circumstance. We've been doing that for decades. So it's not going to always be the easiest thing to just ignore it. And that's not what ignoring your 3D even means. You don't have to pretend like it's not there. You don't have to try to lie to yourself. Um, I would say if you are engaging with things in your 3D that are not ideal, I would be revising at the end of the day. I would be revising at the end of the and it's just a good habit to get into anyways, revising the last 24 hours. But I would say especially if you're continuing to encounter or have to, um, you know, come face to face with something that's not ideal in your day to day, then make sure you are revising at the end. And please make sure you're revising. 'Cause what we take with us into sleep, that sleep window is a very, very powerful one. Yeah. Hi, Missy. When I encounter the 3D during the day and you say to go inwards, should I stop everything and visualize in that moment? Good question. If you are able to, if you are in a position and you find that you are able to, then yeah, in that moment, if you can close your eyes, go within and imagine something lovelier, imagine something that feels better, then yes. That being this, that said, that may not always be the case that we can do that. Like if we're at work, we probably may not be able to just, excuse ourselves for 15, 20 minutes to go meditate and all of that. Understandable. Um, and if it feels like we got very triggered, if we're feeling very stressed, very upset, we may notice a lot of resistance to try and live in the end in that moment. Like trying to imagine something lovely when we're feeling very pissed or very frustrated or very sad is gonna are it's gonna be difficult to do. So if there's a lot of resistance there, then I wouldn't. I would focus then on taking some deep breaths, trying to first relax the body, relax the mind as much as possible in that moment. And then once we are in a place where we feel better, where we do feel more relaxed, then I would go to imagination. I would then go to the scene in imagination, then go to the end. Um, but first, we want to ideally do so from as relaxed of a state as possible. So that being the first and most important thing. Missy, do you think that there is merit in ignoring the bank account, for example, while you are placing awareness on occupying the desired state? Please speak on please speak to your experience with this. Good question. I mean, if what you're if by ignoring you mean, just allowing yourself to imagine something different instead, then yeah. Yeah. If you open up your, online banking and you're seeing the balance and it's not what you want to see, I would take a moment to, put the phone down, close my eyes, and instead experience in imagination what I would have rather wanted to see. So seeing the number there that is ideal. Yeah, absolutely. Um, if that is what you are referring to, if I'm understanding correctly. Like we don't wanna take that unwanted scenario, and start to ruminate and continue to fret from that state. Again, ideally. Sometimes we can't help it, but to the best of our ability, ignoring the 3D is not so much trying to pretend it's not there. It's acknowledging that the 3D is the certain way right now, but that you have the power to change it, right? So we don't need to internalize that and battle with ourselves, if that makes sense. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. There's my spot. Like Oasis said, gotta roll with it. Yep. Hey, Missy. Never got an email back. I hope there's no issue with my emails. Oh, I'll double check, Daniel. I am also getting caught up after been sick this week, so I'm still playing catch up. If I will look into that though, so do bear with me. I'm taking a note actually right now to check on that and make sure nothing funky is going on. Um, how? Oh, did you ever experience that period of manifesting where you're almost in Sabbath but feeling almost meh? Did I ever experience? Um, I mean, the Sabbath can certainly feel like meh. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not unpleasant. It's certainly not unpleasant. It just feels like it. Yeah, it just is. It just is. You're not worried. You're not fretting. You're not anxious about it. Anything like that. Um, which can feel sort of weird if we have been used to worrying and fretting about it. If that's what we've been doing, shifting from that to a state of neutrality um, can feel a bit weird. But it's normal. It's normal. How can I manifest travel when I don't have enough in my bank account? When I hear that answer that I am there, I feel it is a lie. What do I do? I feel it is impossible and taking a long time. This is a good question. And I know it can be incredibly frustrating. I mean, because the answer is to imagine yourself traveling, to put yourself in your imagination in whatever destination you want to reach in the 3D. So wherever you want to go into the 3D, you put yourself there in imagination, like actually as though you are experiencing it. What should be implied is that you are having the experience of this travel. If it's feeling like a lie, if it feels fake, if it doesn't feel very natural, I would then try to first focus on getting into a more drowsy or relaxed state. The whole point of SATs, the state akin to sleep, and then the reason that Neville, almost exclusively taught to do SATs was in that drowsier state, things are gonna feel more real. You're gonna notice less resistance to it versus when you're conscious and awake and alert and when things will feel more like a daydream or you will imagine something and it will feel pretty unbelievable, just kind of fake. Yeah. So and I do have more content coming out about the state akin to sleep. I know that that is one that a lot of people struggle with. It's not, but the good news is anyone can get into SATs because we are already going into SATs and through SATs actually every single night. Every single night. So it's not a matter of we can't do it. It's just a matter of we're not used to doing it. But yeah, if it's feeling unbelievable, try to, at the very least, get yourself as relaxed as possible first. Yeah. Excuse me. Where's my spot? Where's my spot? Hi, Missy. If we are supposed to have no resistance, how do people still get jobs, acceptances, etc., even when doubting a lot? I have gotten these jobs in the past, jobs I really didn't think I'd get. Good question. To be 1,000% clear, we may have resistance initially, especially if our faith in the law is a little bit wavering, which for most people that's going to be the case at first. And when we're not too sure, yeah, we're gonna have moments of doubt. We're gonna have moments where we waver. I mean, everybody has had that. I always bring up as an example Neville's Barbados story. Neville had a lot of doubt and lots of moments where he worried and was clearly double-minded. But regardless, he still went to the end. He still did as instructed, to the best of his ability. We can still leave an impression and see it outpictured, even if we do have moments where we waver a bit. That does happen. Um, Ideally, building our faith, through building trust in ourself as the operant power, you will notice naturally less and less resistance to what you desire, what you want to experience. Because you're not going to be kind of stuck in that back and forth with your ego mind, with the logic and reason, so to speak. Um, but yeah, absolutely, people have manifested things even with some resistance. Um, it's what state you occupy more often than not, basically. So, and I should probably make another video talking in more detail about that. Hello, Missy. How do you go all in to buy the pearl? Like, there can be some resistance at subconscious level, which might not be as loud. So, how do you deeply embody the price of the pearl? Good question. Good question. Um, I mean, we go all into the best of our ability. That's all we can do. And also why I try to emphasize the point of really observing the law working in your life naturally. Like, through observation, through awareness, we're going to see that relationship between what we are internalizing and what is out pictured. We're going to see that it's one and the same. We're going to start connecting the dots more and more. And that is going to naturally build your faith in the law of assumption. Um, So that is something that naturally occurs on this journey. As you continue, you're going to see more and more evidence, so to speak, which is going to naturally build your faith, and it's going to make it naturally easier to buy that pearl. But yeah, but most importantly, we just want to commit to ourselves. We want to commit to that. I'm not going to, you know, blame things on second causes. I'm not going to point to outside circumstances and say like, "Oh, that's the reason this happened," or "That's the reason." I'm not going to continue to point the finger outside of me. I'm going to see as much as I can and be as observant as I can that everything on the outside was once something that was first imagined. Yeah. Hey, Missy, I found I was able to manifest lots of one-time manifestations, money, temporary job, etc. But I'm finding it hard to imagine and live in marriage. That'll change the course of life as you know it. Yeah, yeah. This is normal and very common. Yeah, because like I've mentioned before, we are absolutely able to leave impressions, plant seeds, so to speak, that then become outpictured. Even if even if it goes against a like more subconscious belief that we have. Like, we may see things out pictured briefly, but the thing is, it's temporary when we take that approach. And that's why I really try to press the point of this is not about trying to change the 3D. This is about changing self. Because the natural byproduct of that change in self is a lasting change to the 3D. If we are always creating from our beliefs and assumptions, then we want our beliefs and assumptions to line up with what we desire. So that way, this becomes more of just a way of life. And we are naturally creating and manifesting from an ideal state instead of planting a seed, seeing it out pictured just to have it go away again because we have not changed. If I hold the same fears, the same doubts, the same insecurities, the same limiting mindset, even if I do see the thing I want out picture, I'm likely not going to be able to maintain it. And I know from personal experience. So yeah, this is about the change in self. That's the point that Neville keeps going back to over and over. And speaking of, the next lesson that I'm going to be talking from Neville's 5 lesson series is know when to change but self. That dives into that concept a lot deeper. So I hope you guys look forward to lesson 4. That is going to be a really, really important one. Really, really important. I mean, all of them are important, but there is no one to change but self. I'm using Neville's GPT chat. It's amazing. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know Neville had a GPT chat. You mean you're using Chat GPT for Neville's teachings? Man, what a wild time to be alive. AI is kind of a trip. Let me see what. Trying to go back to my splot. Do you recommend the I remember when technique? Yeah, it could be a really helpful one. Absolutely. And most importantly, I would play around with it and see how it makes you feel and see if you find it helpful. Mhm. Oh, Lily's got a really great question. Really great question. Missy, what's your advice on people who are manifesting their XP for X amount of years with no movement? Maybe some people are just not meant to be together. So, and I have made a video fairly recently talking about this in more detail. Like, what do I say to those who have been at this for a long time and have not seen results? I mean, first right out of the gate, I do not subscribe to the idea that it's not meant to be, that people are just not meant to be, because the idea of that implies that there is an outside force that is determining your fate, right? When we say it's not meant to be, who determines that? The entire premise of the law of assumption is that you are the determiner of that, like specifically your consciousness, your I amness, that is God. So I do not subscribe to, oh, maybe it's just not meant to be. Maybe, no, no, not at all. Um, why is it that for some people they are not seeing movement after a long period of time? I mean, again, definitely check out the video I made talking about this in more detail, but in short, they are not living in the end, or there is a contrast in what they are naturally believing and what they are desiring. There is that they may not believe it. They may still have a lot of attachment to the old story, the old fears, the old doubts. Um, so they are not living in the end, to put it as simply as possible. At least, the people that I have talked to that have been in this kind of place, that's 100% of the time has been the case. And I did the same thing for a while too. So I mean, no shame. But this is also, once again, why I stress the importance of being aware of your mental diet, of what you are thinking about, what you are ruminating on in the day to day, and seeing if that is lining up with what you desire. Because if it's not, if you find yourself constantly fixed on your old fears and, resentments and frustrations, that's telling you what state you are actually occupying. And I'm going to make a video about this part too, but we have to be honest with ourselves. A lot of times, one of the things that I did was out of fear, because I did not want to see it, I did not want to acknowledge it. So I tried to pretend like I was doing better than I actually was. When if I was brutally honest with myself, for a huge part of the time that I was trying to get my person back, I was living in a state of fear. I was not anywhere close to living in the end. So we have to be honest as to where we are at, actually, even if it's not what we want to see. Yeah. Marie, hello, lovely. Good to see you here. Good to see you here because I have a message for you. I'm going to reach out to you today and send you a message. I was just thinking of you this morning, actually. Good morning, Missy. It's so good to see. Oh, you're sweet. What if someone I'm not the least bit interested in is manifesting me? I asked this in relation to my own manifestation of my SP. Good question. And I know that this could be something that we fear, the idea that somebody else is manifesting us, but rest assured that's not a thing. That's not a thing that is possible in your reality, in your experience, the one that you're experiencing through your eyes, through your awareness. You are the operant power. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can surpass you or one up you and manifest you against your will. That's not a thing. We can give our power to others unknowingly, um, and that can happen if we're not mindful. But in your experience, in your reality, that's not a thing that other people can do. Yeah. That is solid gold, looking at where we are, honestly. Yes. And I do have a video coming out about this because this is the most important. The most important. We have to be very honest and very clear on where we are at, because that's what's going to continue to outpicture. Do you think sats and affirmations are a must? Mm-mm. No. And I try to be clear on that. Techniques are not mandatory in order to manifest a change in your 3D. They can be very helpful tools. And I certainly do recommend, especially if you have a lot of resistance to the idea of your desire, if it feels very unbelievable or unrealistic, that is where, especially SATs, can really, really come in handy. But I also don't want to put the pressure on people to say, like, oh, you have to do this perfectly, or, that's it. You're not getting what you want. No, no. It's not a must, but if we are having a lot of resistance, it certainly does not hurt. They're tools to assist us. So if we need the assistance, we should use the tools. How can I detach from my manifestation? Um, so detachment is a natural part of the process. You will naturally detach from that old state, from that old narrative, that old story. That will happen on its own when you continue to go to the end. When you continue to experience in your imagination what you want to be experiencing in the 3D and really allow yourself to feel that. At a certain point, you will naturally find yourself detached from that old state. Detachment isn't something that we can try to force ourselves to do. It, yeah, we'll know if we're trying to force it because it's gonna feel forced, and we're not gonna actually be detached from it. Yeah, I see a couple people having a thread here about music. Yeah, music is amazing tool to help us get into a more uplifting state or to feel more relaxed, to feel more upbeat. Putting on a good playlist, putting on some good music or a good guided meditation is chef's kiss. Yeah. I agree, Kelly. Forgot to ask, can we have quiet music in the background while doing sat slash falling asleep? Motivational music that invokes the feeling and helps us get into the state. Good question. Um, I mean, you can definitely play around and uh, see how that if it's having an effect. Ideally, we don't want to be distracted. That's the only thing I'm going to say. If the music is distracting and not letting you get into that deep enough state, then I wouldn't. But play around with it because what we want to do is when you go into sats, you will eventually get to a place where you're no longer aware that you're in your bed or in your room imagining this thing. It's going to feel like you're somewhere else entirely, like you are quite literally having a whole other experience. So, if music or any kind of potential distraction is sort of keeping you in your room trying to imagine this thing, then no, I wouldn't. But if you find it helpful, play around and see. What is my spot? Hi, Missy. How do you maintain the wish fulfilled without making it feel like acting as if or being delusional? How to maintain a state without feeling fake? Good, good question. Good question. Yes. Um, and that's going to be why we practice. Uh, we practice going within, and we practice aiming to feel it as natural and real as possible. Again, where sats can be really helpful with this, or at the very least, getting relaxed enough to where we're not because how do I this? In the day-to-day hours, in our waking conscious day-to-day hours, we tend to be very fixed in our beliefs, in our ideas. Hence why it can feel very difficult to imagine something that we don't believe, that feels unbelievable, um, feels fake, basically. um, there is something about that window, like leading into sleep, not even all the way to that point necessarily, but even into a drowsy, um, deep meditative like state. that will help it to feel more natural to you, that will help you to imagine more with a sense of with a s in a state of ease. And yes, this is absolutely a practice. I'm gonna come out with another video trying to, help break this down more, but the idea is to learn to use the imagination to have the experiences that you want and allow yourself to do it for the enjoyment of it because it feels really good. If we're trying to imagine something with the 3D outpicturing in mind and trying to get it to outpicture, it's probably going to feel fake. It's probably going to feel forced. It's not going to feel very natural because a part of us may not believe that we can do that or that that would be possible. Um, so, once again, if it's feeling fake or delusional, we want to try to, you know, see if we can relax ourselves more and get to a place where I'm just imagining the experience of this because I enjoy it and because it feels lovely. Nothing more, nothing less. Just as we did when we were children. When we were kids, we could imagine things that would feel so amazing and so real, even though you know, we weren't actually space cowboys on the moon, but we imagined that we were, and it felt good and it felt amazing. So it's the allowance of using your creative imagination, which is an art that we have lost since becoming adults. Yeah. Hi, Missy. Sometimes when I do visualizations, I have strong feelings. For example, sometimes I cry of happiness because my SP said something beautiful. Mm. Is that okay, or should I feel neutral about it? Absolutely, you may have, you very well likely will have some uh, strong emotions involved. Like that, emotions may naturally come up when you're in sets, and that is totally normal. It basically the sets are to sort of replicate the 3D experience. So we're aiming to replicate how it would be if that was a 3D experience. So if I'm talking to my SP and they're saying something beautiful in the 3D, I might get teared up. I might get choked up and be all, Twitter pated and happy. Um, so I'm gonna have the same kind of response in sets. That's totally normal. It really depends on the scene and how it would be and how you would be feeling if that were happening in 3D, right? If my scene is just, me cuddling on the couch with my person, watching a movie, just chilling, then it may feel a bit more natural, a bit more subdued, right? So it really depends on what we are imagining, but it is totally fine and normal if we do notice a strong emotional response. Yeah. If it doesn't manifest exactly as we want, does it mean the universe thinks it's not the best for us? Not at all. Not at all. Um, and Ursula, if you have not read any of Neville Goddard's work specifically, I would. What you're describing sounds a lot more in the realm of the law of attraction, and these teachings are different in a lot of ways. So, number one, the universe does not decide for us um, because we are the universe. God, consciousness, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, that higher self. Um, but it's not making decisions on your behalf, like without you, basically. If something doesn't manifest exactly as we want it, it is due to a belief or an assumption that we have, a limiting belief or a fear that we had, that something would go wrong or something of that sort. There was a contrast or a conflict in what we are naturally assuming and what we desire to experience. That's all. Aaron, you have a really good question here. Hey, Missy, I'm having trouble staying focused when laying down to do sats. How do I stay awake and focus long enough to reach the sat state? How deep enough is it anyway? What does it feel like? Good questions. And yeah, like I said, I do have a video that is going to go more into details about how to know if you are in sats, like, you know, if you are deep enough, so to speak. Um, what you're outlining here. So definitely keep eyes out for that video. But it is number one very normal to have difficulty in staying focused at first because your mind is going to wander, especially as you're getting more relaxed. Your mind is at a certain point going to start to wander. That's normal. The key is to not let yourself, get too caught up in something else, like just gently redirecting your attention back to, a focal point, kind of like I just sort of, it's hard to put it into words, but I'm just basically like directing my attention back to the darkness behind my eyelids. And I'm just breathing and I'm just allowing myself to drop down deeper. Um, when distractions come up, just direct your attention gently. You know, nothing needs to be by force. And how do I stay awake and focus long enough? So this is where if you have trouble with falling asleep too quickly, then I would recommend practicing at different time intervals in the day. So maybe perhaps instead of right before bed, when you may be exhausted, understandably, instead of using that time when we're more inclined to fall asleep faster, you can practice in the afternoon, you can practice in the evening, laying down for a nap, something like that. And that was something that I did. I when I first really got into the practice of sats, I would really practice in the afternoons before once I started to get more comfortable with it, I would, switch to nighttime, but that's an idea. But yeah, like I said, I am going to be coming out with a video kind of explaining in more detail because what a lot of people are doing, and this is what I was doing, was we're not really allowing ourselves enough time to get into that relaxed enough state. We'll put our head on the pillow, we'll take a couple breaths and then just immediately launch into the scene when we're still very conscious and very alert. And when we do that, it's going to feel forced. It's going to feel fake. It's going to feel strained. And that's just not going to be helpful. Yeah. Hello, sweet sloth. Hello. Be loose with what you want. It's about the feeling of having what you want. Want to request to bring some more guided meditations? I hear you. I hear the request for more guided meditations, and those will be coming. Those will be coming this year. Where was my spot? No, Sarah, you are so sweet. Thank you. I'm looking for more chats and more AI deep dives myself. That's gonna be fun. Sorry, that's fine. Trying to find my spot. Hi, Missy. If I want to change profession and be rich and have no clue what else to do, plus I don't have any other qualifications nor working experience, how do we do this? Or is this manifestable? Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. If we have a desire for something, we can experience it. Yeah. It sounds like there's some getting caught up in the details, the conditions, not feeling qualified enough, not having the work experience. You don't need to have any of that or do any of that to go to the end. If you desire to be wealthy, then go to the end where you are already wealthy. Imagine yourself in your nice house. Imagine yourself driving your nice car. Imagine yourself looking over your financial reports and talking to your wealth advisor. Go to the state where you are already abundant. Where we get caught up is in all of these hows. I'm not qualified enough. I don't know what that would look like. How would I get there? I don't have the experience. None of that matters. None of that matters. If you desire to be abundant, if you desire to be wealthy, you can right now, in this very moment, go into imagination and live in imagination as though you are wealthy. And what would that look like for you? Would you be traveling all over the world? Would you have two houses? Would you start up your own nonprofit and, and donate to your charities or nonprofits of choice? Whatever that looks like, go there and be that in your mind. We don't need to know all of the stuff in the middle. Not our job. All right. I got time for a couple more questions. For anyone asking the question of, is it possible to manifest XYZ? The answer is always yes. Whether that's physical appearance, manifesting a person, manifesting money, does not matter. Does not matter. If the question is it possible? That yes. Always, always yes. If you can imagine it, you can experience it in the physical world. Make here, there, and then now. Jessica, you got it. You got it. Let me see. Miss FM, you have a really good question here. Missy, I'm so proud of you and love watching your growth. Thank you. So I can manifest amazing things and then I lose it and then I get it and then the cycle continues. I have a 120K job, then I lost it and then get it back, then I lose it. And what the heck is happening with my subconscious mind? I appreciate. I know that this is so incredibly frustrating. Why is it that we tend to manifest things just to lose it, to get it back, to lose it, get it back and lose it? Yeah. This is, again, why I stress the importance on having the objective here be about changing our beliefs, changing our self concept, as we continue to hear in this community, changing how we are looking and perceiving things, how we are naturally assuming and what we are believing about the world around us, about ourselves, about other people, because that is what ultimately manifests, or that is what will continue to be outpictured. So if I have a confliction within myself, Let's say I have some limiting beliefs around money and feeling like I have to work really hard for it, or, whenever I get it, I lose it. It could be anything. Those are just a common few types of beliefs that people have around money. Uh, we may start to see that pattern. We may be able to manifest it in just to lose it again, manifest it in just to lose it again. When we notice patterns in our life, that's pointing to a belief that we have, an assumption that we hold. So always, 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 no matter what we desire to see in the 3D, whatever changes that we want to see out there, the objective always needs to be, how do I want to feel? How do I want to perceive this? The version of me who has the thing that I want and maintains that state, what are they like? How would I be thinking? What are the thought patterns that I would be having? What are the reactions that I would have from that desired state? That's the aim. And then we want to go there. And then we want to go there in consciousness, in imagination, and experience it until it starts to feel natural to us. How do we form a belief in the first place? Through experience, through the experience of it. So that's where the creative power of our imagination comes in, and why I emphasize more than anything that this is about the change in ourself, not to try to get something in the 3D. That is the natural byproduct of changing ourself, changing our beliefs. The natural byproduct of that is that the 3D will change. So we don't even need to focus on that. That is a given, right? But especially if we're noticing things coming in and losing it, coming in and losing it, it's pointing to something that we need to address in here. How we are perceiving what we are assuming. Yeah. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Oh, sweet Sloth. I completely understand. I completely understand. If you need to focus on you right now, if you need a break, take a break. Take care of you. First and foremost, our mental health and well-being have to come first. There's no compromise. We cannot compromise with our mental health, our mental well-being. Do what you need to do for you. Mhm. Or the 3D is a replication of our imagination, especially in sets. Funny, after years of consciously manifesting, some statements still open up our mind even more. Exactly right. Exactly right. Mhm. It is a replication of what we are imagining. And yes, especially in sets. Mhm. Missy, is it normal to feel physical sensations while manifesting, like chills and shivers all over body, twitches, seeing lights, shapes, and shadows in the mind? Do you mean when getting into sats, Francesca? Because what you're describing is absolutely normal. Like, as we're sort of going deeper, so to speak, as we're relaxing ourselves, going into sats, yeah, yeah. All of what you just described is normal. How to stay strong when the ego backlash is intense. Self-care, 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 self-care. Do whatever you need to do for yourself, whatever that looks like, whatever you need, and don't fight it. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to push back against it. That's gonna probably be the first instinct or initial reaction. I would not. I would not. I would load up on Haagen-Dazs ice cream, load up a playlist of some of my favorite movies and shows or favorite songs, and just, if I need to have a good cry first, have a good cry. If I need to just let myself have a moment, let yourself have a moment. It's okay. That's comes with the human experience. But self-care, self-care, and just let it out. Let it out. Mhm. It will subside. It will pass. Please read this. What to do when we're experiencing something we don't want, and what to do when SP does something we don't want, even though we have been doing affirmations trying to change our beliefs. If we're seeing things outpictured in the 3D that we don't want, it was at one point something that we imagined and was impressed, becoming outpictured. Everything was once an impression, unless revised, unless changed, becomes an expression. So I would be paying close attention to your mental diet through the natural mental diet, not what we're trying to force on ourselves, not what we're trying to pretend, but what is naturally and subconsciously coming up for you. Because that is what is going to tell us the state that we're actually occupying dominantly. And again, I have a video coming out about this because this is one of the traps that we can fall into. If the affirmations are helping, if they are helping you to feel into that state of the wish fulfilled, if they're bringing you that satisfaction, that relief, the feeling of what it would be like having what you want, that's one thing. If we're affirming from a place of fear and anxiety and it's making it worse, then I would try playing around with different ways of imagining. I would try maybe first getting as relaxed as you can and trying playing with mental conversations, visualization if you can. But we if it feels like your reactions are not changing and things are not changing, then we want to see about taking a different approach. Maybe finding a new path of least resistance. Yeah, just my 2 cents. Oh, Hansani, thank you. You are you are sweet. Love your Neville readings. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. I'm glad. AI ain't even true AI. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely want to make sure because apparently there's a lot of Neville AI impersonation. So if we're watching a video that claims to be Neville speaking, I believe YouTube requires that you have to put in the description that it's AI or there's something that says that it's AI. So definitely make sure that, if you're watching something from Neville, allegedly, make sure that it's actually from the source. Uh, 'Cause I'm hearing stories about AI teaching all sorts of similar but wacky things. Yeah. Missy, when we manifest a specific person, do we always need to come from a place of unconditional love? What if you don't really know your SP, but you're maybe in a stage of idealizing them? Um, well, is that unconditional love required to manifest an SP? No, no. Um, I wouldn't say that that's. I mean, it's certainly it's always a good idea to practice turning to or feeling into that unconditional love because I mean that is in essence who we are. That is God. Um, but I'm not going to say that it's required to manifest an SP. If it's somebody that you just want to get to know better and you're interested in, just go to the end of being with that person, whatever that looks like for you. Mhm. Watch we don't get an AI miss. uh, yeah, yeah. The technology is getting stranger and stranger by the minute. Hey, Missy, happy Sunday. Love. Oh, thank you. What would your number one advice as someone who manifested her twin flame union and house and everything else? Um, what would be my number one advice? Uh, so actually, the last video that I released talks about three things that I my three biggest mistakes or misunderstandings when I first came into these teachings. So if you haven't seen that video, the last video that I released, that will be really helpful for you. The number one thing is, and I say this all the time, but it really is it is a journey of self. It is about the self. It is, yes, we want this 3D outcome. Yes, we want this experience naturally, but the focus has to be on changing how we feel and really focusing on our mental health, our well-being first and foremost. A lot of times when we come into these teachings, we're not in the greatest place mentally, physically, both. Um, really prioritizing your well-being above anything else. That's and if you are not meditating, if you do not have a meditation practice, that is going to help and be beneficial in so many ways. Have a daily meditation practice. Have Learn ways to help you relax your body. Learn the art of physical relaxation. That also goes hand in hand with these teachings. We will notice considerably less resistance when we are more relaxed. Yeah, that really cannot stress that point enough. Stop looking to the 3D. Stop looking to the 3D. Stop looking to the 3D. The only gauge that you need is how you are feeling, how you are reacting, what you are internalizing. And be brutally honest with yourself. We have to, even if it's not what we want to see, it's not what we want, we have to be honest with ourselves with where we are at in this moment right now. We can change it, but first we got to be honest with where we're at. So there's a few things there that I would recommend. But on that note, unfortunately, I do got to jet. I got to get going. I got a ton of things I got to catch up on today, some editing to do, and emails to get back on. But I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Thank you so, so much. Much love. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. If I didn't get to your question, I do apologize, but rest assured, we're here every Sunday. So I hope to see you next week. Take care. Keep eyes out, notification on for new video, new Neville lecture series. And yeah, much love, guys. Till next time. Bye.